like, honey, what's the matter? And she's like, I don't want to move to Africa. And I said, what? What do you mean move to Africa? She said, you said maybe we could move to Africa. I don't want to go to Africa. I said, all right, hey, welcome back to Coffee with Dwayne and Jesse. In this segment, we call the
Percolator.
The Percolator. So in the Percolator, we talk about, ideas, and we talk about like personal growth and things that, advancing certain thought processes and things along those lines. Yeah. So while we were off air, we were having a little bit of a conversation about, so this guy is a hard worker. He's got...
I'm a worker.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he's got some questions about priorities, and I think he already knows the answers about them. But you were telling me about how, so you've got this gig that you're already doing, and you're getting paid pretty decent to do the gig, and it gives you enough time for your family. But you've had a couple of other opportunities have popped up, and people are wanting you to, and you've had some ideas of some other things. So
so the way my brain kind of works is I'm pretty open to opportunity. I have some certain skills that could be desirable for other opportunities. Handsome, I'm handsome.
He's gonna be
intelligent,
model.
Right?
But so Hollywood's been calling, and he just doesn't know if he should take it or not.
Actually, I did interview for a TV show, but whatever. That's another.
It's a whole different thing. Yeah.
But I do speaking. I've done sales. I've done a lot of things in my kind of short period of time, and so people know that. And so sometimes opportunities come up to have a sales gig or to have to expand kind of what I'm doing with our job currently.
Right.
And there's always this desire to just do it, because I'm the one. I used to watch this clip of Steve Harvey where he talks about jumping off the cliff, right? And you got to pull your he's great. He's one of the greatest minds, I think, of our time when it comes to like motivation and
because he's lived it from the standpoint of living in his car to hitting success.
Yeah, and so there's this clip where he talks about just make the jump.
Yeah.
Right. Because like you're going to fall, you're going to get bumped up, you're going to get bruised, you're going to get stronger, and just continue to make the jump. And so I'm not risk averse at all. I'm like, hey, let's just do it. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, we learn something.
That's right.
So, so I'm more minded like that. My wife, Savannah, is very supportive and has never said like, no, like if there's something I really want to do, she's like, go, like, let's do it, Okay. And sometimes that's worked out really well. And sometimes I'm like, man, I wish you would have told me I'm too stupid to do that. Or,
She'd never tell you that.
Never. I have to argue with myself in the mirror on that one. But so we had to have a conversation, last night just about some of these, little opportunities that could make money, but what is our priority? Is it additional money, or is it the flexibility and the time at home with our boys, especially coming into a busy season of work already. So we're already coming into a very busy season with work and with other commitments with church, with, all kinds of stuff. We're getting very busy. And I just have this, you know what? Let's do more of that. And so, having to talk, kind of have a conversation of like, if this is something we really want to do, right? Great. Let's pull the trigger and do it. But what are the downfalls?
Well, there's a thing called opportunity costs.
Yeah.
And so that means there's a cost. If you say yes to this, then you're saying no to something else. So what would be the things that you're saying no to if you said yes to these gigs?
Yeah. And which is more important to say yes to? And so, we had to, really.
No, that was a question.
Oh,
that was a question.
What would
you be saying no to if you took on some more of these gigs?
Flexibility.
Okay.
It would still be flexible because I can always say no to the, to the additional things I would be wanting to do. I would set it up. If I were to say yes, I would set it up in a way that I'm saying kind of a big yes overall, but I'm setting myself up to say small no's when I feel it appropriate.
Okay.
But I don't like saying no. So I know that even though I'm leaving that opportunity to say no, that I might not say no when I should.
Okay.
So I would have to be saying no essentially to the flexibility of us to maybe I might not be as able to pick up my son from preschool.
Right.
Or drop off our other son at the babysitter.
Well, the benefit is if you aren't the one dropping your kid off at the preschool, then those golfers can get some piece. You won't be honking when you pass the driving range. So they're voting for you to take this
Well,
gig.
But see, here's the thing. With the opportunity, I would have more money. I would just pay somebody to do it occasionally. I might
Well, that's the kind of money you're talking about. You can pay somebody to drive by and honk
to drive by
driving range
and honk for me.
All right.
I was upset the other day. I picked up my son, and there were no golfers.
It's cold.
I was like ready, and there was none. And
that's right.
But yeah, so I would have to say no to those things. And what also would happen is it would affect my wife's schedule. We work together, and so it would put more pressure on her to do pretty much a majority of what we're both doing now.
Right.
And so then, you get into, we're both tired. We've both been working separately all day, and so we just had to, take that conversation and say, you know what, maybe not this year. Maybe it's something for next year.
Right.
And maybe we need to be preparing, because also I'm a little bit late. One of the opportunities I would have to jump in now, spend some money now to get things, going. And I'm like, I don't really want to do that. And I'm a little late to the party.
Right.
So maybe that's just a good, that's the best reason, the easiest reason to say, nah, let's pump our brakes on that.
So one of the things when we were off air, what he was talking about was like more, and it's not necessarily an idea of being greedy. It's this idea that we want to provide for our families. Yeah. We want to provide a lifestyle that is, a little less stress, and the bills getting taken care of takes a little bit of the stress off and things like that. And so just because you're trying to better yourself and sock some money away for, times get hard, things like that, that's not an issue. But when the cost is more time with your family, like you don't get to spend the time with your sons or your wife that you were spending, and then the time that you are spending together, you're both exhausted because of that extra workload, then you just have to ask yourself, is that extra cash worth what I've lost out on? So I see a lot of people who are in jobs that are making them miserable. They'll get a job, they go out and buy a brand new boat, brand new RV or something like that. And then they spend the next, 20 years paying it off, and they're working, 16-hour days so that they can pay for these things. And yes, they may get some enjoyment out of them for a couple of weeks in the summertime, or maybe a few weekends, but is what they're losing over the course of time worth it or not? And only they can decide. And maybe they've decided, it was worth it. But for me, there's nothing more important than on the earth than my family. And so taking gigs that rob me of that, of course we can't all just stay home and I'm telling my wife to quit her job, I'm going to quit my business, and we're just going to stay home so we're going to be together. No, you actually, jobs I think are cool in the sense that not only is it an opportunity to provide, monetarily for your family, but it also gives you something to talk about. You get new experiences when you freelance, like, we do some freelance kind of things. It's really nice because it's not the same thing. If you're at a job and you're just pushing that same button every day, and what do you talk about when you come home? Like, hey, what'd you do today? I pushed the button. That's what I did for the last 30 years.
And a lot of times in jobs like that, and I've talked to people, the things that they do actually talk about when they come home are all negative. Right. Because normally good thing, you're kind of in this monotony, and one of the things that brings you out of monotony is drama, frustration and anger. So, I think it's funny. I think that you kind of hit on something as well, not increasing our standard of living when we, maybe get a pay increase. And I think one of the best things that we've done recently is decreased our standard of living. We've paid off cars, paid off, some debt. We've done some things to where, honestly, I could take a big pay cut if I wanted to, and have even more flexibility, more time. Eventually it would lead to less flexibility. But I have a friend less food. Yeah. Which, hey, you know what? Maybe it wouldn't be a bad thing.
All right. Well, but then you'd cut into your coffee budget.
I would. And eating low carbs, low sugar is much more expensive than eating McDonald's.
Isn't it crazy how to be healthy costs more than being unhealthy? It's great. You get, stuff that's free of all of the bad stuff, and it's not free because you're paying to have it not there. It's crazy.
But anyway, so
Sorry,
I digress. No, it's okay. It's okay. This is the long segment of
That's right.
This is the one where we can go, the percolator. But no, I have a friend of mine who has a city job. He works for the city, and it pays fairly well. And he's not as fulfilled as he would like to be. He also does some side like bus driving for one of the schools. Yeah. And he rehabs and flips houses. Busy guy, ton of energy. Funny, he doesn't drink coffee. Yeah, he can't. He has more energy than anyone I've ever met.
Yeah.
Doesn't drink coffee, no caffeine.
Wow.
Anyway, he has a chance to take a full-time bus driving route, which would give him more flexibility, substantially less pay, or the city actually wants to give him a different job that would pay more and be more flexible than what he has now, but less flexible than the bus route.
But he doesn't really like it.
But he doesn't really want it.
Right.
And so, but I was talking to him, he was not necessarily asking my advice, but just kind of what I think. And we were talking through some things and found out like they'd be fine if he just had the bus route, because he's put himself in a position where they have like no debt, no bills. They own their house. They own other things. And so I'm like, well, dude, like it's right. Is it a no-brainer?
Like a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
Right.
And what's really cool with him is he actually has the chance to test out the city job because school bus driving wouldn't start until next year.
Okay.
So you can kind of test it out and see what he wants. But I told him, I said, dude, you're not. Nah. I said, you're gonna be driving bus.
Yep.
And so it's just funny, like talking to him about that and kind of what I'm going through. It's like we don't always have to say yes.
That's right.
To more money, more things.
We don't have to chase stuff.
We don't have to chase.
But we live in a society where we chase things out. And before I chase that thought, I did have one question. Does driving a bus come with combat pay?
It should.
It should.
It should.
Hats off.
Yeah.
To the bus drivers, because me being cooped up in a tin can with a bunch of screaming, give me the EBGBs. So, but there's a lot of people who their idea is that if I have more, I'm going to be happier. Mm-hmm. But think about this. Every time you turn on the news and you'll hear about a celebrity, a bazillionaire, somebody who they had all the money that more money than they'll ever spend in their lifetime. Athletes, CEOs of top companies, and you hear people, the suicides or divorces or scandals or all of these things because they weren't happy. They were chasing things down. So it's like that proves that money itself isn't the thing. But then I also, I've traveled the world. I've been in Africa. I've been in Cambodia. I've been, lots of places and seen people who literally live on dirt floors that are some of the happiest people in the world. And they don't have, they don't use nickels, but they don't have their equivalent of 2 nickels to rub together. Yeah. But they're as happy as can be. And so they have priorities. Their priorities are, their faith and their family, first, and then, you have to provide for them. You've got to have the job. And so people do some of the basics you have to, or maybe farm, raise your own food and animals and all that kind of stuff. It's a whole different cultural mindset that we've got here. And, I've seen people over the course of the, almost 40 years that I've been working, 35 years that I've been working, I see people that have been in jobs, according to the old model. The old model was you graduate high school. Yeah. You get a job down at the factory and you work there for 40 years, 50 years, and then you retire and go home, sit in your recliner and then die. Yeah. That's really what would happen to a lot of people. But our culture has changed to the point where, if you're in a job for, more than a few years, that's kind of strange now. Companies aren't as loyal as they used to be. There's even the whole debate, do you give 2 weeks notice or not? I was like, I don't know. They fire you without giving you 2 weeks notice. So what's the, there's a lot to be said about it, but there's people out there who are doing jobs that they were never designed for. I believe that we're all put here for a purpose, and I don't think that purpose has to do with your occupation.
Yeah.
But your occupation should take advantage of the things that are inside of you. There are people doing jobs that make them miserable because they're chasing after more, like pensions. They're chasing after, all of these things that there's no guarantee it's even going to be there when they need it. You work, 40, 50 years, and then you retire and you live for a couple of years. You didn't even get to enjoy, whatever that retirement package was. And so chasing after more isn't necessarily what I would ever recommend to somebody. As a matter of fact, I guess it changes, chasing after more what? More quality. I'd chase after quality time with your family, using that time to, dig deeper into your faith, into the things, exploring what your purpose is here on this earth and things like that. That's when it comes to the plague, the pandemic.
Take a drink of coffee.
Take a drink of it. When it comes to that, there's not a lot of good news that has come from that. But one good thing that has come from that is the number of people who've decided in their lives that this is the season. I don't have anything else to lose. Why don't I jump into my dream?
Yeah.
I've always had a dream of starting XYZ business. So I've got the time now. The government's even giving me a little bit of money to do some things, and that's a whole different thing.
Oh yeah.
You're the idea that, you paid off your car loans and things like that. There's a lot of people that are taking that extra money, quote unquote, extra money, and they're going out and getting deeper in debt with that extra money as opposed to buying off. But if you can pay off your debts and live a little bit more free, save a little money for your Java, but you're less dependent then upon the need for that factory or for whatever that employer is.
Yeah. Well, and I think what this has shown us is how fragile our, the systems that are in place are, right? So, when we got the stimulus and we got all the, the extra money, it was definitely tempting to go out and not even just get into debt, but just to go out and spend it frivolously.
Right.
There were some things that we had fun with.
Sure.
But after we said, okay.
Well, you were stimulating the economy.
We stimulated it. Yeah. We call it the stimmy shimmy. Right? We did the stimmy shimmy a little bit. But that was after we put ourselves in a position where, let's say that, outbreak 2.0 happens and they shut everything down again. We've put ourselves in a position where we need less money every week to sustain through that. And I'm like, that makes me feel good. That makes me feel like, hey, we did a smart thing. We stewarded our money well. Right. Because now we still will have some, because during the first shutdown, there was 3 weeks where we lost about 50 to 60% of our income, but we still had 40%. Right. So we're extremely blessed and fortunate. But I'm like, if that were to happen again, it would be even less stressful on us because we've put ourselves. And so I look at it, it just comes down to priorities.
Yes.
And I think that this has shown a lot of people, and I will say it took a while, but I've seen the silver linings, in the shutdown and the, people are working from home and realizing that they will need to be spending more time with their children. They want to be spending more time with their children.
Kids need them.
And we won't go too far into this, but they can also educate their children. We don't need, just to, send our kids off to education,
Schools are necessary.
Schools are necessary. I'm not saying that, but I think it showed that the parents need to have a more involved, role in their children's education and in their children's lives. And, it's been really fun. We plan on homeschooling both of our children and putting them in programs. It was really cool to be able to spend a ton of time at home with my son, as he was going into preschool. Yeah. I'm like, why would I not want to do that?
If you can do it, do it.
Yeah. And so so instead of picking up more work, more obligations outside, putting ourselves in a position to where we don't need more
Yep.
has been I think it's been a really good thing. And so that's just kind of that was a thing that we talked about last night, and I've been thinking a lot about because, again, I'm just opportunity minded. And I think a lot of people out there, I think being opportunity minded is a good thing.
Absolutely.
But also being able to say no, I think is an even better thing when it's not the right time, when it would take away from other priorities that are higher on the list.
That's right.
Than this tool that we have called money.
You were talking earlier about how, you throw all these ideas out and then your wife tells you whether she thinks it's a good idea, not a good idea. When Deborah and I first got married, so I have a little bit of ADD. Like I'm so tempted to look over at our monitor. Because
if you guys see me looking here, it's because there's a monitor where I can see my face.
If we go out to
I'm
eat,
really handsome.
If we go out to eat, and we sit in a restaurant and they put TVs in all of these places, it drives me crazy. I always have to sit like underneath the TV or with my back to the TV. Otherwise it gets my attention. But anyway, I digress. So when we first got married, I just have like ideas like starting businesses and doing this thing and doing that thing. And one day she was like really stressed after about the first year of marriage. She was really stressed. And I was like, honey, what's the matter? And she's like, I don't want to move to Africa. And I said, what? What do you mean move to Africa? She said, you said maybe we could move to Africa. I don't want to go to Africa. I said, we're not moving to Africa. She said, but you said you had an idea about maybe moving to Africa. And I was like, it's just one of millions of ideas that are cycling through at any given time.
So, did you even remember saying anything about it?
No, actually, I didn't.
You're like, I'm sure I did.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. But she was really stressing because she didn't know me enough at that point in the first year of marriage. So we're not moving to Africa. We like to visit. We got some good friends in Kenya, but we're not moving. And so it's those opportunities, because I've said yes to several opportunities and things that I didn't know how to do. I was asked, hey, do you want to try this? And I was like, well, yeah, let's do it. Say yes and then figure it out. Yeah. But the cost of it wasn't the cost of my marriage. It wasn't the cost of I'm at a season of my life, I'm at the grandparent stage now. My grandkids aren't here every day. My wife works. So when I say yes to something, it's not costing me anything other than a little bit of time that I was spending on a different business venture or something like that anyway. So I think, like I said at the beginning, you pretty much answered your question. And so I think that's wisdom. I think that's a mark of wisdom that you're even considering what is the cost of taking on these extra ventures. So I'm probably proud of you, man.
Thank you.
Putting your family first. Put your family first. Hey, this has been Coffee with Dwayne and Jesse. I'm Dwayne.
I'm Jesse.
Be well.
Do good. Drink good coffee.